Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our weekly live question and answer series where we sit with an integrative medical physician and we look for your questions and we answer them here on YouTube. You can post your questions in the chat section of the video. Should be off to the side right here on the right hand of your screen. You do need to be logged into YouTube. If you can't log into YouTube or can't ask the questions, which we will be monitoring here live, then you can email your questions to us at office@tlcdoctors.com. That's office@tlcdoctors.com. We'll ask those on the following week. Well, let's jump in and get started. How are you doing today, Dr. Ellsworth?
I'm blessed. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Awesome. I do want to mention a quick disclaimer. We want to make sure that any questions that you ask here, this doesn't replace the relationship that you have with your physician, going over your specific medical condition and questions and such. So do make sure that you follow up with your doctor or schedule an appointment here. We do offer telehealth visits, so you can have an appointment right from the comfort of your home. We are open, so if you do want to be seen in person and have a physical exam, we offer that here as well too. But the information and the questions that we're answering here is to share some of your knowledge, share some of your information as a general approach to health and wellness for our patients. So doctor, do you have some information you want to kick us off with for today?
Well, last Wednesday I was mentioning at the very end of the video, I didn't get to one of the articles I wanted to bring up.
Right.
And this has to do with the fact that at Tustin Longevity Center and our preventative approach to try and make you the healthiest person you can be, even if you have a problem and you're in your recovery, we want to build you up. Our preventative protocols actually have been proven yet again, and so I thank the Lord that He has been guiding us to help our patients indeed to have those nutrients, those lifestyles and activities and training, education to help yet another aspect of how you can avoid this COVID-19 SARS-2 exposure. And that is in Science magazine. This was published, what's the date on this? 2020, I don't have, October 11th? Yeah. Science magazine, the title is Free Fatty Acid Binding Pocket in the Lock Structure of the SARS-CoV-2 Spike Protein. So everything is three-dimensional. We're three-dimensional. The molecules that make us up are all three-dimensional. And COVID, SARS-19 is a three-dimensional structure, and it stays together with bonds, okay? And you stay together with bonds, electrochemical bonds. And I want to read you their findings here. This is Principal Investigator Christine Toelzer, Toelzer, et al. This is at School of Biochemistry, University of Bristol. And here's what they found. They found a 2.85 angstrom, which is a teeny weeny atomic distance, okay, in a molecule called SARS. So one of the little binding sites in that molecule, there's a structure, an S protein. Those are the spikes you see. That's why they call it corona, okay? And the glycoprotein reveals that the receptor binding domains tightly bind the essential free fatty acid linoleic acid in 3 binding pockets. There are 3 areas within the SARS-CoV molecule. There's 3 areas where it binds. The pocket also appears to be present in the highly pathogenic coronavirus SARS-CoV and MERS-CoV. So you've heard of SARS back in 2002, then MERS in 2006. And now we have COVID-19, and this is also present in those as well. And what they're finding is linoleic acid, the one of only 2 human essential fatty acid, which is an omega-6 fatty acid, which you've been made to fear through undereducated dissemination of, apparently the doctors today don't understand these things or don't get enough chemistry, biochemistry. Linoleic acid binding stabilizes a locked S conformation giving rise to reduce ACE2 interaction in vivo. So the site that the SAR goes to into the lung and the membranes here is the ACE2 receptor on the pneumocytes. There's type 1 and type 2 pneumocytes. And this linoleic binds it up so it can't catch on. It can't catch on, okay? Stabilizes a locked S conformation rising to a reduced ACE2 interaction in vitro. In human cells, linoleic supplementation synergizes with the COVID-19 drug remdesivir. So they've been working with combination therapies. That's the antiviral medicine, suppressing SARS-CoV-2 replication. So not only couldn't get it in the cell to trigger the take over the replication process, but also remdesivir helped prevent that. And so LA supplementation synergizes with COVID drug remdesivir, suppressing SARS-CoV-2 replication. And so here is why you should go to college and become a biochemist, a chemist, an analytical chemist, because all these things are so fantastic. And you know, I know you can't see it here, but again, I will have Blake put this underneath. If you look on one of the pages, they actually have these pictures of these glumps, and they put a red box around the yellow. There's 3 sites here where it's at. So you'll enjoy this. I certainly enjoyed it. Good old essential fatty acid. And where do you get linoleic acid? You get it from egg yolks, okay? And did they make you afraid of eating egg yolks? Yes, they made you afraid of eating egg yolks. Where else do you get it? In red meats, organic grass-fed red meats. Did they make you afraid of eating red meat? Yes, they did. Is it in nuts and seeds? Yes, it's in some nuts and seeds. And so I want you to know, remember, I have always been teaching about the cell membrane and its receptors, and how if you don't have a healthy cell membrane, I don't care what vitamins you're taking, they're not going to be able to do their job and work within the cell. And so we're talking about these fats and proteins and repair, and I had always been showing you about these essential fatty acids, linoleic acid, that help hold the receptors in place, and they do so much else as well. And I'm just so happy that you can see the linoleic acid here, double bond right here, omega-6. It's unsaturated. So unsaturated linoleic acid is what you need in the egg yolk, the meat, the seeds, and the nuts. If you ever eat some seeds and they taste off, that's because the linoleic acid became oxidized, rancid. And so we have all these papers for you to look. We'll put them under so you can look at that. It's very important to understand good nutrition helps your immune system, yes. Okay? The other article that is put out by Biomedical Research, this was published on August 15th, 2020. Biomedical Research is titled Effects of Ivermectin. That's the anti-parasite for worms and things like that. That has been used for many, many years on millions of people. Very well received. So it's a combination of ivermectin, azithromycin, and cholecalciferol, which is vitamin D. And they gave these to COVID-19 infective patients. And here's what they found. April 1st to April 20th, and that was more in the height of the concern and of this, April 1st to April 20th, patients who met inclusion criteria were invited to take ivermectin 6 milligrams once a day on days 0, 1, 7, and 8, plus azithromycin 500 milligram, that's a Z-Pack, one a day for 4 days, plus vitamin D 3, 4,000 international units twice a day for a total of 8,000 a day for 30 days. Here's the outcome. I'll take a sip of water. I get so excited about these things, I inhale my own spittle. Okay. So the treatment outcome was evaluated on the 10th day onward from the first day of the drug intake. The recovery rate of the 28 patients that received the combination therapy was 100%. I'm going to read that again. The recovery rate of the 28 people that received the combination therapy was 100%. So these people didn't succumb to the impact of being exposed and positive on their test.
And how many patients was that?
Well, it was a small study, 28.
Well, I suppose I just am not jumping out of my shoes because, I mean, most people recover from coronavirus, right?
Yes, and the mean symptomatic recovery duration was 3.6 days, and they had to have a negative PCR confirmed on day 10. So, you know, the studies are out there, the data is in. The average age on these anywhere from 56 to 35, mostly men, okay? And so we have wonderful therapies. So that's another good one.
Okay.
And lastly, a quadruple therapy with ivermectin is also found effective. This was published September 14th. They took ivermectin, the antiparasite, and doxycycline, which is an antibiotic, and they took zinc, and they took vitamin D. And what they did was, this was published by Dr. Manakappa. He's a cardiac anesthetist working at Monash Health, Melbourne, Australia. And he used ivermectin, doxycycline, zinc, and vitamin D as a preventive as well as a treatment method. And what he found was, in this randomized controlled trial using ivermectin in 3 doses in primary contacts of COVID-19, Dr. Manakappa stated that 93% of primary contacts who received the ivermectin did not develop any symptoms.
Wow. Ivermectin is?
A antibiotic, you might say, against parasites.
Okay.
Doxycycline is a different kind of antibiotic, zinc and vitamin D. And 58% of the primary contacts who did not receive the ivermectin did progress on to have symptoms of the pandemic. So it goes on and on. So there's just tons of articles out there, you know, talking about treatment, therapies, and so forth. We know the mortality is the same as the flu, 0.1%. And so as we started, I went back looking at our very first January discussion, and we said, let's all take a deep breath, okay? And I think we should today all take a deep breath and be happy that this is like the seasonal flu virus, and its infectious mortality rate, IF rate, of 0.1%. And then we have wonderful therapies, and we already and always did know to try and protect the most vulnerable, whether it's a sick person of any age with a severe immune dampering or limited defense system, like a chemo patient under
Right.
therapy, or the elderly as their immune system declines. So I'm just happy, and I wanted to just show that with you.
Great news.
And
Yeah,
the preventative medicine, because we've had the zinc.
we have tools in our toolbox that we can employ now today to either prevent getting infected in the first place or prevent progression of symptoms, and certainly recover faster, quicker.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to hop to some of our one of our first question that came in on the chat, and then I've got a question that came in via email. So first question on the chat this morning is there anything a nursing mother could take to help her baby with environmental allergies?
You have to treat yourself, because your baby is getting exposed with environmental allergies through you, and that's largely through the food. So if you are eating, a lot of gluten, or you're eating processed foods, high sugar foods, milk that is homogenized and pasteurized and broken down, then this will impact the baby. So the mother has to eat as clean and natural and simplistically as possible. So avoid processed food, avoid dairy in America, avoid grains in America. Eat a more one menu day, which we teach. Let's say tonight I cook a meatloaf, okay? I'm just going to put in that meatloaf maybe some eggs with the meatloaf, and I'm going to put in maybe some jalapeno peppers, salt and pepper, okay? And then I will have with it on the side maybe Brussels sprouts and butter. And that's all I'm going to have. Guess what I'll have tomorrow for my lunch? The same meatloaf and Brussels sprouts until I eat it all up.
Right.
Do you see? So we try and teach, don't entertain yourself with food. Don't let marketing push you. Eat food to be well and functional and stay healthy. And then on a legitimate holiday, have your treats.
Right. Yeah, if we look at a very typical American dinner, we're talking about 3-4 courses. Each of those courses has many, many ingredients, especially if it was pre-processed, pre-packaged.
Right.
Even something as simple as, you said, a meatloaf. If you look up a recipe on the internet, you're going to see 15 ingredients in it, maybe?
Right. Even at Sprouts, if you look at they've got all of this kind of crazy stuff in it.
And that in and of itself, the ingredients could be quality and not be a problem per se, but you have to remember, even in a healthy immune system, that our gut is trying to identify each one of those ingredients and say friend or foe, friend or foe.
Right.
And that puts a toll on your immune system, and over time you can actually develop a breakdown and develop a food sensitivity to those foods. So as for a nursing mother, she's going to pass that information on to her baby, either good or bad. And so one of the best things a nursing mother can do is keep your diet very simple. Protein, a vegetable, maybe a complex carbohydrate or starch, and healthy fats, lots of good protein, low carb, low sugar, low
and
processed.
Lots and lots of water. Lots of water.
Right. Excellent. Okay. I did have a question that came in via email, and this question is from Debbie. And Debbie asks, "Hi, I would like to know if it's okay for my husband to follow your diet, as it differs from the fork over knives diet that his heart specialist told him to follow."
Well, I am not. I don't know who your husband is per se, and so I'm not going to come against whatever
the
cardiologist who is managing him.
But I think forks over knives, isn't that more a vegetarian?
Yeah, yes, and that was, if you look at the people who sponsored that video, you're going to see the industries that sell a lot of sugar and starch and grains, and I didn't like that video at all. So
and
there's
she
a lot
mentioned
wrong
cardiologists, and we know the cardiologists have a misunderstanding in general for the healthy types of fats, the saturated fats, like you were saying earlier, those omegas that we're told to be afraid of, egg yolks and beef and tallow.
You know, Dean Ornish had a very good cardiovascular outcome and cholesterol reduction on his vegetarian diet, the Dean Ornish diet. And the keto people have a very good cardiovascular outcome on the more keto-friendly carnivorous type diet, the paleo diet. And how can that be? Well, the answer is you have to see the refined carbohydrates were out of Dean Ornish's diet, and the refined carbohydrates are out of the ketogenic diet. And so sugar is the enemy. Refined carbohydrates is the enemy. Hidden high fructose corn syrup is the enemy.
So processed foods and carbohydrates and sugar.
Right.
Now, what I would be concerned about with a more vegetarian diet is, are you getting, number one, the essential fatty acids, linoleic and alpha-linoleic, because it is possible to get that from vegetable sources, but you may need supplementation for that.
Well, if you go to my encyclopedia of food values, you will see in there, if you look up a seed and you say for a certain weight of seed, how much of that seed food value is protein, how much of it is fat, how much of it is carb, okay? And you'll see seeds and nuts are largely carbs.
Right.
Now, yes, they do have in them good, healthy, essential fats and some protein, but it is wrong to represent them or legumes as a great source of protein or essential fats. Yeah, because your carb content consumption will be so high trying to get enough of the others.
Right.
So it is a challenge for the vegetarian.
Right. And your diet isn't necessarily in opposition to like a fork over knives. The foundation of your diet says keep it simple and rotate.
Right.
So stay away from processed foods, limit the carbohydrates, sugars, and have a protein source and a vegetable source with limited seasonings in it. That's really the foundation of it. Of course, we advocate and we believe in grass-fed, pasture-raised, organic meats because you can get that good protein, you can get that great, healthy, essential fat in there without the carbohydrates getting pushed up from a more vegetarian diet.
Right, and if you look at the American population, so many are overweight and obese, class 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 obesity. If we were back in the 1960s, before all this high fructose corn syrup got into our sodas and cooking, we could handle a more fork over knife type lifestyle. But we've already moved into this excess, obese, overweight, more sedentary population burden, especially now in our children. And that has to be addressed. So you have to lean away from the carbohydrates in the more vegetarian type diets.
Right. It is just so typical in an American household to start the kids' day off. It's easy, it's quick, with an oatmeal or cereal grain for breakfast,
right,
and with little or no protein at all. And that's just really pushing up the release of those sugars.
And the insulin hormone, which really is the cause for stimulation of fat growth, thickening of your coronary blood vessel, thickening the intima arteries thickness, and tumor growth. I want to also add minerals, meats, animal proteins, fish, fowl. These are so rich in minerals.
Yes.
That's
gonna be lacking in a vegetarian
exactly
diet, right?
Yeah.
Now we do have many vegetarian and vegan patients. It is possible, but that's where we work closely. We do nutrient deficiency testing, and then we supplement with those essential fatty acids with like the clinician's preference, linoleic and alpha-linoleic acid, and then the TLC minerals that we include in that as well too.
Right, in our multivitamin, and we put all our patients on this. I think that's why my whole population and the other us 5 doctors here, we had no problem with the COVID-19 at all.
But our general vegetarian or vegan walking through the door, trying to transition them into a simple rotational diet, they've probably already been overexposed to too many carbs and sugars. And it's a real challenge. You put some patients on very strict carbohydrate limitations, 50 grams a day, 60 grams a day, and that's really hard to do with a vegetable sourced diet because they've all got carbs in them. Okay, great question, Debbie. Next question. I'm on my 3rd day of fasting. What is the best way to end this fast? Was thinking about a burger and a beer.
Well, beer is a toxin. All alcohol is a toxin, so I don't endorse alcohol at all. I don't see anything wrong with eating a regular. When I end my fast, and I do prolonged fasts, I do 5 days, 7 days, and then I did 3 weeks worth of a 480 calorie per day fast, and that was all of September. I ended it October 1st. I just go back to eating my regular diet.
You were right back.
I went right back to my my simplistic meat and cooked vegetable.
Yep.
So I don't see anything a problem with that.
That's going to differ from person to person. I can say from my experience when I've been on a 5 or 7 day fast, if I go straight back to a prime rib steak, you know, my go-to, I love grilling my steak out there on the grill, nice grass-fed beef, I'm going to feel really terrible after nothing in my stomach for 7 days to a big steak. That's me. So I like to ease back into it with some salad and some chicken, just a little bit of protein on there. But that's me.
All right, and you could
Fish.
go to a soup, you like chicken soup or
Right.
broths,
Right.
beef broth and the like. But you're designed to handle that regular meal.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I think we have time for maybe one more question here, and I see one here from the car. Doctor, do you have any experience using sodium thiosulfate IV for detox? Could it be added to the EDTA drip to make it even more effective?
No, I don't have experience with it, so I can't really address it.
I'm not even familiar with sodium thiosulfate.
Mhm.
Okay, that's one that we'd have to look into, but I can say EDTA, safe, so effective, such a broad application with so many benefits, improving microcirculation, removing heavy metals, removing toxins. We actually cut the typical EDTA dose in half just because we have so much success with that. And we would rather see patients do that more regularly at a safer, lower dose than the standard dose, 3 grams for a.
Yeah, if that's based on a 50 milligram per kilogram calculation, Cockcroft calculation. We use a 25 milligram per gram per kilogram calculation, and essentially that works out to roughly detoxing at a bit of a slower rate.
Right.
But a more consistent, and then we soup it up with other things like vitamin C and minerals, vitamins and nutrients in it. You know, I've never heard of
Sodium
isopionate. Yeah, I'm going to have to look at that, and so I can't speak to it, and I will try and remember to bring something up about that next time.
Okay, one more. This is another easy question, I think, quick. What's your recommendation on using salt? It seemed to like I seem to like a wee bit more than average. Can that be natural urge because the body needs it? So let's talk real quick about sodium.
Well, if you're drinking, and hardly any people drink their right amount of water every day,
Right.
half your weight in pounds as ounces. So if you're a 200-pound man, you should drink 100 ounces of water a day. If you're a 150-pound woman, you need 75 ounces a
Right.
day. So who is really drinking that much? If you drink your right amount of water, plenty of water, you don't need to be sodium mindful. Really,
Afraid of we've
right.
been told to be very afraid of sodium because of blood pressure.
No, salt to taste. Enjoy your salt is our philosophy.
My kids tease me. They say, "Dad, you always put salt and butter on everything." I like my food salty, and I like the essential fatty acids in my butter. But I drink a lot of water.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you do.
And very simple. menu.
We do here, and I, Himalayan pink salt, mineralized salt. Go
Trace
for
minerals.
it. Yeah, go for it. But that really is not an adequate, nor iodine in salt adequate replacement
Right.
therapy.
So simple answer. Don't be afraid of salt if you're drinking the recommended amount of water, which is half of your body weight in ounces, and that's in pounds. I wonder if that would work for kilograms too, because I believe this person's in Europe.
There's 2.54 pounds per kilogram.
Right. Well, in the
No,
English
there's
system.
2.54 kilograms
Right.
per pound.
Okay.
Yeah, the other
Yeah.
way around.
I'm about 180, and I drink 90 to 100 ounces of water a day.
So, so if there's 2.5.
Now I've got the scientist on my attention
Yeah.
here. Well, you can. I can't speak for the metric system, but if you convert your weight in kilograms to pounds, divide that in half. That's how many ounces of water we recommend our patients drink a day. All right. Well, thank you so much for your participation. We love it when we can make this interactive. I think we got to all the questions today. We'll scan back and see if we missed any. We'll answer those on a following week. Next Wednesday, we'll be here at 9:45 a.m. Pacific again. I'll be with Dr. Althorpe. Sometimes we have a guest. We'll see what next week brings. Be sure to join us and tune in. If you have any questions in between, feel free to email us, office@tlcdoctors.com, and just put in the subject line, I have a question for the live Q&A question, anything like that. Those will get passed along to us, and we'll be sure to ask your question here next week.
And we'll put those references under the video with last week's as well. They weren't put up, I saw, so
Right.
we'll make sure that's done. And if you like these videos, subscribe, like us, and consider giving us a Yelp and saying that you appreciate what we're trying to do.
Yes, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Well, take care of yourselves out there. We shared a lot of information today about things that you can be doing today, steps that you can be doing right now, some tools you can put in your toolbox to prevent SARS-CoV-2, improve your immune system, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks so much for joining us today.